Cardfight Vanguard just dropped two of the most insane products for old and new players to get into the game, and that is the Jude and Lianorn Decksets. Let's talk about this and just kind of discuss how you would build your deck straight out of the product. This is a really good video, you know, to show new players, people who are just starting out their Vanguard journey. Recommend them this video. If this video helped you, share it with your friends. So let's get started, right? So we obviously have two deck sets. I won't go through too much on the specifics because, yeah, it's kind of all on the screen, right? So this is pretty much the deck list that the Jude deck set got. We'll go through the Lianorn one as well. And what we're going to do is to transform this deck into a competitive deck that I would bring it to a regional or, you know, to like a shop challenge or, you know, it's competitive enough so that it doesn't get steamrolled, right? So from this deck, what we do have access to is the Divine Set 8. That is Knight of Rebirth. And that set really helps Jude because there's a new grade 2 Lianorn. I think that's how you say it. But essentially it is an insane card and is super cheap because no one plays Jude, right? So let's talk about some of the cuttable cards in this deck. So the first most cuttable card is Empusa, right? We're not even going to talk about Ristal Gala because Ristal Gala, you still play one copy for access to Forbidal, but Empusa, completely cuttable, as well as Composite Freaks and Horde/Draco Kid, right? Let's not talk about the triggers. The triggers are just kind of whatever. And then obviously the new Regalis piece is really cool too, right? So there are a few missing pieces in this deck, and I'll name them. So the first one is Nocturcio. Nocturcio is your #1 grade 3 that you must have in this deck because it amps the firepower of this deck once you ride to grade 3. Secondly, the second best card, if not the best card in the grade 2 slot, is Lianorn. Whatever the new grade 2 is, right? From Knight of Rebirth, we need 4 copies of those. And then the third card that might not seem very necessary, and to be honest, it is the last of your priorities, and that is Bifronz. So Bifronz allows you to play a really strong early game because it allows you to plus, allows you to get soul, and adds a card to hand. So essentially the card committed onto the board gets refunded. So what are the cards that we are going to cut in this deck for these cards, right? So we obviously need 4 Nocturcios. So let's take out 2 Ristal Galas and 2 Composite Freaks. And let's just search up Nocturcio. Right. Nocturcio did come out from set 6, so it's quite recent. Drop 4 of them in. It is super cheap at the moment. Just get it. It is really easy to get, right? So that is your Nocturcios. So Lianorn, right? This is a new card and it is extremely cheap. Just straight out take 4 impulses out for that new grade 2. This guy, yeah, this guy. This guy is so good. This is pretty much like your EB cycler, so your Tizcar, but not with the price tag, right? So essentially this card allows you to EB3 on place to draw a card, right? Which is equivalent to Tizcar, and it is also a restander. So playing 8 restanders in your deck is just really good. And it works while your opponent is on grade 2, so you can launch 5 attacks just straight up, and your opponent can't do anything about it, right? So Lianorn is a really, really strong card, and it is very cheap at the moment because there's a lot of set 8 being open. This card is not wanted by anybody, and if you are a Jude player, make sure you pick it up. So that is Lianorn. All right. So at this point in the game, right, if you are a new player and you have bought the Nocturcios and the Lianorn, right, you're pretty much done. Right, don't even worry about the Bifronz. You can keep these other ones, that's fine. Like, don't worry about those. What you want to be replacing are the triggers, right? So you obviously want to play 8 criticals. So let's take out the 3 fronts and the 1 draw, and let's just chuck in 4 criticals, right? So critical triggers. You also get the promo pack from your Jude deck set as well. If you get a crit from there, that's really good. But yeah, you definitely want to play the Stem Deviate. Stem Deviate has been reprinted so many damn times that it's impossible to not find this card, right? You just ask your locals, somebody at locals will have them. And if you crack it from your FR pack, then great. All right, let's just say I'm a cool guy and I crack one from my FR pack, chuck it in, right? Just chuck it into your deck, and then find 3 more from locals, or maybe your friend that just wants the Regardless piece doesn't want the critical trigger. He's gonna pass it to you, call it a day, right? So we're gonna chuck in 4 Stem Deviate Dragons there. So obviously the 1 mutual crit and the draw, the crit here. And then the last slot that you want to actually change in this deck is the draws before Bifrons, right? So you want to add Nocturcio, you want to add Lithiosagor as the second. Tertiary, you want to swap your triggers, right? If, for example, you cannot get your hands on effect draws or effect fronts, no matter which one, it doesn't really matter. I think effect fronts are really good in this deck because you want to play super aggressive. So if you don't get those, then whatever. But Natalia, must get, right? Let's just chuck 3 of these in, and then that's pretty much your deck. Like you're done, right? Now let's talk about from here. Oh, actually, there's one more. You swap your Dark State OT, which is really not necessary. You don't need to. So if you're a new player, you have no idea how to get into the game, you have no idea what you're doing, right? And you just want to play a game and you just want to get a really good deck, just stick with the Dark State OT. That's fine, right? But if you find that you have a Vow Note, right? Buy it, drop it in, and that is like probably the best OT in this deck, hands down, not even a question. Right, so that's actually a pretty good Jude list, right? Like this is what I would probably be playing, like obviously with Bifrons and one other change, but we'll talk about that in a sec. But this is just as competitive as you can get, right? It is very, very low cost. Like Nocturcio's in Australian dollars, right, is probably going to be like even less in USD, right? So we're talking USD. Nocturcio's like 5 each. Lithiosagor is like 5 each, so what, 20-40 bucks, which is actually less than the Jude deck set itself. And then these triggers are like chips, right? Like $3, yeah, it's pretty easy, right? So just getting the crits, getting the fronts, Nocturcios, and the Lithiosagor, you're sorted, right? And this is pretty much a near complete deck for Jude, right? Now let's talk about the next stage. So the first stage of deck building this deck, you obviously want to put in Nocturcios and the Lithiosagor. Always remember that, right? So that's the primary objective. The secondary objective is to swap out all of your triggers, right? So you include 4 Stem Deviate, and let's just put the 4 Stem Deviates so that we don't confuse anybody. So 4 Stem Deviates, 3 Natalias, and 1 Valnode, right? So that is swapping out your triggers, right? So that is your secondary change. Now your tertiary change, or your third change, well actually it's like the third phase, right, is putting in Bifrons and Forbidal Surrogate. This Regardless piece is so good already that you actually probably don't need Forbidal Surrogate. And the reason being is that this card puts itself into Soul if you choose to only call 1 card. And that is huge. Sure, Forbidal allows you to get your Ignis, that is really strong, but you can make do with this Regardless piece. If Forbidal is too expensive for you, don't worry about it. Just use Shroud in Darkness, you'll be fine. Okay, just draw into your Ignis. Don't worry about it. Okay, so what would I swap for 4 Bifrons? Immediately, the 4 remainder grade 1s, right? The Composite Freaks and the 3 Horde Slash, and I put in Bifrons. Bifrons, I think at the moment is relatively okay. Like the card is just used in Unicar, and Unicar isn't really, well, Australia, it's not really used much. So you put like 4 Bifrons in, that's it, all right? And then obviously if you have the money, if you feel like this is the deck for you, you swap out Shroud in Darkness for a Forbidal Surrogate. Forbidal Surrogate. Okay, Forbidal Surrogate did get reprinted in the Korokoro set, so as in these two. But yeah, if you find, the other Forbidal Surrogates because people want to up rare or, trade off their old ones for like these Korokoro ones because it looks cool, then, by all means, right? So, looking at the deck now, this is what I would bring to a BCS. This is what I would bring to a regional. This is what I would bring to a locals or like a shop challenge. You know, this is what I would bring, right? And this is as simple as it gets, right? And you guys have to remember the 3 steps. The first step is to add Noctursia and Lithiosagor. Those 2 cards make this deck so damn good that they are a must-have in this deck, all right? There's no questions. Please, 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 if you guys are new players, find yourself 4 Noctursias, find yourself 4 Lithiosagor, and just drop them in, right? Don't worry about anything else. If you get like vanilla triggers, sure, you know, you swap out, like even if these stem deviates are vanilla triggers, no worries, right? Put them in and then keep the fronts, no worries, right? Secondly, you swap the triggers out, right? You put in 4 stem deviates because sometimes you might need the soul, but to be honest, if you're managing your soul well, it doesn't really matter, right? It's just min-maxing. So if you can't find stem deviates, just chill with vanillas. Then we have 3 Natalias. 20k shield's always good. Fronts are really good, and this deck wants to play quick, and that's just how it is, right? And then Valnut, Red OT. This has been reprinted like a billion times. I think it got reprinted in set 7 or set 6? Set 7. Set 7. So which is the last set. People are like probably throwing them around. Just find them. It's like super cheap, $5. Chuck them in, right? And then if you are happy with your deck and how it is, then you can look at putting in Bifrons and Forbidal Surrogate. So holistically, I'm not going to talk about the intricate plays with this deck. You guys can figure it out yourself. I do have a video on this as well, which I'll probably link in the description below. But yeah, you know, this is how the deck works, and it's just really, really good, right? So if you guys are Drajeweled players, straight out of the box, this is how I would change the deck into a competitive deck, right? 3 phases, remember that. But let's talk about Lianorn. Lianorn is actually very complete. Like, this is probably one of the most complete decks I've seen, right? The only thing you really need to put in this deck is like maybe Alvina and maybe like EB Cyclers, and then obviously swap your triggers, right? So if we are talking about this deck, what I would change first, right, is not even the normal units. I would change the triggers first, right? The triggers are really important, right? Disclaimer, this Bracing Angel ladder is actually the Regalis piece, which the deck set includes, but it's not on deck log at the moment. So just be mindful of that, right? So what would I change first? I would 100% change the triggers first, right? Get rid of these fronts, get rid of the draws, put in leaners. You don't actually even need the Intersoul crit with this deck. This deck just kind of works itself. So you just put in like 4 vanilla crits, right? And then 3 leaners. 3 leaners. Leaner is the effect draw. And yeah, you're just pretty much good, right? So let's search for some criticals. Oh, you can use the Koro ones as well, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, let's just put in 4 of these and then leaners. You can probably, I think you probably play 3 leaners. You don't want to play 4 because then it cuts into your critical slots. And here we go, right? That's just how it is. So simple. You just pop in 4 vanilla crits. People are going to chuck them at you for free. Leaners are like probably the most unused trigger in Stoic KL because fronts and effect crits are just way better, right? So you just chuck them in, right? The trigger lineup is probably the most important part for Lianorn. So that is the first phase. Similar to Drajeweled, where Drajeweled puts in Noctursia and Lithiosagor, changes triggers first for Lianorn. Secondly, is the normal unit. So get rid of your Resonance Dragon and put in the EB Cycler. So you take the 3 Resonance out and then probably 1 of the Parsees, and then you put in 4 of the EB Cyclers. Man, I completely forgot what the name is. It's like, what is this? I know it's a triple rare. What is it called? Here we go. Sea Rumble something shooter, right? You put in 4 of these, for C Rumble Brave Shooter, right? This allows you to then use your EB during your turn to be able to draw, right? Drawing into your Vivaces, drawing into your combo piece is really good. A lot of things in your deck draws. Your Broccoli draws, your Lagrace draws, your Lust Impact draws. Alentis trades itself to draw, right? The more draw, the better, right? And I think even this, does this card draw? No, it just calls, I think. But yeah, it generates you soul, right? So secondly, if you want to, you know, adjust your normal units, right? You put in 4 C Rumble Brave Shooter. Now, tertiary change, and this is probably the last change that you'll probably look at, is to put in Alvina. Alvina, let me tell you right now, Alvina is so expensive. It is not worth playing. If you guys are looking at a deck that you just want to play, you know, understand the game, and maybe this is your favorite deck. If it is your favorite deck, then, you know, invest in Alvinas. If you want to stay with Stoicheia, invest in Alvinas, invest in the C Rumble Brave Shooters, because it is scalable into the future, right? But if you guys are on this deck because you are learning this deck and you want to venture into other nations, do not buy Alvinas, right? It's just not worth it. 160 bucks. I would rather spend that on maybe half of a Buff Saga deck and just play Buff Saga instead, or I don't know, put it into Blankmire, play that instead. There's a lot of better decks out there that you can probably buy for 160 bucks, right? It's just not worth it. Anyways, but if Lianorn is your favorite deck and, you know, this is the deck that you want to keep for your lifetime, no worries. What would I change for 4 Alvinas? I would take out 4 Parsees and 1 Alentis and put in 4 Alvina. Alvina is so damn expensive. It is ridiculous, right? This thing is so expensive. Like, it's only got 1 printing, which kind of makes sense, but the card is just really nuts, right? Really, really good. Okay. Now, that's pretty much it. Like, I think this deck is as good as it gets. Now, thinking about it, there's actually a change that I'll probably do before the triggers, and that is the ride line. So the ride line, I would actually change it into the Rorowa ride line. So Rorowa. The Rorowa ride line is really strong for the early game, right? So if you find somehow, you know, just like the rare here and then the common grade 1, chuck it in, right? This is how it looks. It's very, very simple. You know, you generate 2 plant tokens, you sack 1 plant token, create 2 more. So it means that the plant token that you usually would have behind the Vanguard just sacrifices itself and creates a column of 10. And then you pretty much hit like 10, 10, I think it's like 20, depending, maybe 25. Hit triggers like 30, 35. That's what you want, right? You want to play really aggressive with this deck. And then push your opponent up to high damage, and that's kind of how the game plan goes, right? Now, there is this card, okay? There is Sincere Red, and I think this card is really good. This card is pretty much equivalent to the EB Cycler. So to be honest, like the difference between this card and the EB Cycler is that the EB Cycler can be used whilst during your opponent's turn, right? Whereas this card has a different effect. So it essentially bottom decks itself to turn a card's original power to 15k, which is actually pretty useful, right? 20k if you persona right. So if it's too hard to find the Brave Shooter, just substitute the Brave Shooter and put 4 of these in, right? So I'm just gonna put it right there side by side. So if you find that you cannot find this, you know, just chuck it in. Or if you have 2-2, just chuck in 2-2, you'll be fine, okay? These 2 cards are so... the margins on these 2 cards, in terms of their effects and their impact in this deck, is so low in comparison to every other card in the deck that it doesn't matter which copy you have, right? Because they kind of serve the same purpose, except... You know, this one you can ditch to Soul Blast to draw a card instead of EB, but, you know, you barely use EB for anything if you're not playing with Alvinas, right? So If you find, you know, like 3-in-1 or 2-in-2 copies of each, just chuck them in. It's fine, no worries. I think this one is actually like pretty expensive because Magnolia Patriarch is a deck now, and I think this card is used in Magnolia Patriarch. So I guess that's like the only factor to consider. But again, like I said, you know, when we're summarizing all this, what I would change first is arguably first would be the ride line, and then the triggers. So ride line and the triggers has been the primary focus on what to change. Secondly is obviously put in one or the other or both of the EV Cycler or Sinceriat. So Sea Rumble, Brave Shooter, or Sinceriat. And then tertiary, if you love this deck to the moon, put in Alvinus, right? The Regalis piece doesn't really matter, right? The Regalis piece, if you have Bracing Angel Ladder, then it's good, you know, find a Bracing Angel Ladder, chuck it in, no worries, right? But it's not a priority, right? If you just want to learn, want to know how to play the game, yeah, just follow what I said, right? So primary is the ride line and the triggers, second is the EB Cyclist, third is the Alvinas, and then somewhere in the middle there, if you find the Bracing Angel Ladders, just chuck it in, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's recapping on how I would change the Lianorn and the Drajeweled deck set so that it becomes competitive, and you know, maybe you'll have a really good time at regionals, right? These two decks are very, very strong, and I hope Bushiroad releases more of these products because I think these products are very, very strong to get players into the game, and you know, for obviously older players to get Regalis pieces, staples, and essentially just make a deck from the ground up with very, very little cost, so to say. But yeah, hope you guys liked this video. If you did, comment down below, like the video. If you guys think that this was really helpful, share this with your friends. If you guys haven't already, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.